One thing that we have established from at least the yogic perspective is that the Jagannath temple, much like many other temples, is not just a structure. These are very powerful energy machines, right? When you look at the idol, the Jagannath idol, right?
An incomplete deity.
An incomplete deity. So there is, I believe, there are no hands, there are no limbs, right? On a wooden, you just have the eyes carved out on, I think, a neem wood it is, right? There's a neem wood and the eyes only have been carved out.
Daru Brahma. It is called Daru
Okay.
Brahma, D-wood.
Okay. Why do you think that is the case? I'll tell you what I think from the yogic perspective. I think that the Lord of Jagannath is the Lord of the Jaga. You know, he symbolizes universality, formlessness, divine, which is beyond perception, which is beyond limbs, which is beyond what any of us imagine.
The Advaita Vedanta theory.
Right? Limitless consciousness. But wo hi kyun? Why don't we have any other deities like that? That's my first question.
As I said in
Yeah.
the beginning, Jagannath culture or the deity of Jagannath is an assimilation of multi-faith. You have the Shaiva, Shakta, Vaishnav, Jain, Buddhist, and then the Advaita Vedanta also. As you rightly said, limitless, Ananta, Jagataranath. If I look at the deity, why it is like that,
Yeah.
there are two ithihasic events that are mentioned in the Skanda Puran Utkal Parva or the Niladri Mahodaya, stating where when the neem woods were, under, sculpting by Vishwakarma, some say Vishwakarma, some say Narayan himself, the Rani Gundicha, she got worried and pushed the King Indradumna to open the gates and find out what is going on. And when he went, he found these incomplete deities. And then Akashvani happened that this is the form that I deserve or I wish to be worshipped. The other story which comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where when one day in Dwarka, Yashoda Maya was telling the Gopikas the stories of Vraj Leela, that by closing the doors, that these three brothers, sisters were passing by the room and they heard that Braj Leela is being discussed from behind the doors, and they started melting over there. And in that meantime, Narada arrives over there, Narad Muni, and he sees this beautiful formless, Rupa of Sri Krishna and his brothers and sisters, and he is fascinated. And that is when Narada Muni is being advised that in Kali Yuga I will be worshipped in this form as Jagannath. So these are the two theories primarily which goes inside behind these two deity, this form of deity.
Okay.
So basically, if I have to decode that, what I need to explain to the audience is Shri Jagannath Mahaprabhu, or the culture of Jagannath culture as we say, that is comprising of multi-faith in the sense that within the pantheon of Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma, the Shaivas find Bhairav within him, the Shaktas find the Kali or the Shakti, essence in him, and the Vaishnavas obviously look at him as Krishna. Then there is the Buddhism. The Buddhists actually see the essence of Mahaprabhu as Tathagata. Okay, and to
Which
that
is
extent, Tathagat Buddha, the Buddha,
Okay.
the Shakyamuni. And the Brahma Padarth, which is much talked about these days in the internet, many people speculate many things about it. The Brahma Padarth, as the Buddhists consider it as a relic of the Buddha. Then there are the Jains. The Jains consider him as the Tirthankara, Rishabhnath. Okay. And within Hinduism, but not linked to the mainstream, I would say to that extent, but which is a culmination into Hinduism at a later date, is the idea of Jagannath being a tribal god, a tribal deity, which is Vriksha Devata Kitung. So the tribal god or the Vriksha Devata or a totem, you can say, is also now merged into the Jagannath culture. I will give you a few stories or historical events actually which truly happened and which can give you a very good understanding of the essence of Jagannath Mahaprabhu, that why he is so all inclusive.
Correct.
all inclusive, right? He comes out, the only deity in India today, the original deity who comes out from the sanctum sanctorium right on the road to give darshan to his devotees. But in all other temples, you see there's the Utsav Vigraha which comes out, a smaller version, and
Correct.
they take it around, be it in Ujjain Mahakal or in Kashi Vishwanath or anywhere you see, or even Kedar or Badri. And of course, another factor which adds to the mystery is the series of 18 invasions, Islamic invasions, which happened in Jagannath Puri. Now, this is something which is not captured in the mainstream history today, that it is the temple which has suffered the most at the hands of the Islamic invaders, and not Somnath. It has even endured more invasions than Somnath.
Okay.
And the
But did it get
invasion,
affected?
yes, of
Okay.
course. That's how I'm going to tell you. And these 18 invasions, they were divided between Bengal Sultanate, Delhi Sultanate, and the Mughals. All came in. And there has been incidences also, that is how I keep telling that you should take history as it is, read history as it is. There have been incidences that although the name is of a Mughal emperor, Jahangir, but the Lutera who actually came and raided the temple was a Rajput.
Wow.
One of the invasions was done to loot the treasury, and a bit of damage that was done was by Kalyan Mal, the son of Todar Mal.
My God.
Can you imagine
no,
this?
I can't.
So
But how is it
Todar-
not mentioned in the history?
That's how history, we don't read history properly.
Or do you think it is easier to blame on the Firangs and say the Mughals did it? We didn't do it.
It is both ways. It is both ways. Even the Firangs who operated out of Orissa operated with the help of Indians who were in the police and the judiciary or even the administrative systems. When these invasions were happening, Jagannath Mahaprabhu used to be moved out of the temple. The deities used to be moved out of the temples and kept in places, hidden in places in the jungles and mountains of Chilka, or in various other parts of Orissa, which still exist today. And there are temples, and the Rath Yatra is celebrated in those places. And today, if you go back to those places, you will understand why this mystic, this thing. Your god who disappears from your temple is moved by the priests and the Sevaites to a mountainous terrain surrounded by jungles and wild animals, and they are stored, they're kept and worshipped in utmost secrecy, and people are hunting them all around. It is such a fascinating story, a fascinating story of courage, absolute raw courage, resilience, and sacrifice of the kings of those times, the soldiers who laid down their lives to protect the deities. I think the best story or best event that epitomizes the enigma of Jagannath is two events that I would specifically mention. The first is related to Bisir Mohanty, a Vaishnav called Bisir Mohanty. So now the biggest Islamic onslaught which happened on Orissa, where temples after temples were desecrated, was by Kalapahar, the Afghan Pashtun commander of Bengal Sultan Suleiman Karani. He sent a mission under his son Baizad, assisted by, Kalapahar. And it is twisted fact, and many people fall for the trap, that he was a Hindu Bengali who married a Muslim lady, and he was not allowed to enter, and thrashed badly at the Jagannath Temple. So he tore off his paita, his thread, and converted into Islam, and then came back to seek his vengeance. But it's not true. He was a proper Afghan Pashtun Pathan, and this has been clarified time and again by historians like Jadunath Sarkar or R.C. Majumdar, or even in the recent times, I think by Dr. Meenakshi Jain also, if I correctly remember. But yes, definitely the previous two. Now, it was his invasion that gave the maximum structural blow to the current Jagannath Temple structure.
Achha.
Okay, and even if you go today, you can find those remnants. And across Orissa, across Kaling or Utkal, or whatever you say, he desecrated multiple temples, hundreds of temples he laid to wrath. So the Jajpur also was laid to wrath, And while he was doing this, his invasion was preempted, information passed on to the servitors, and they had moved the deities to an island in Chilka.
But I have a question here. Why would they move the deities? Because
Otherwise-
energy. No, I understand. So that they
Brahma
don't.
Padarth. To save the Brahma Padarth.
Understood. So you're saying the energy was in the idols.
In the Brahma Padarth.
Okay. Because usually hota hai na that in the difference between what I know from the yogic.
See, the Kshetram, the energy in the Kshetram,
Yeah.
the Sri Kshetram or the Purushottam Kshetram,
Yeah.
that energy is there. But
Correct.
they were trying to save the Brahma Padarth. Like they are trying to
Understood.
save a Krishna deity,
Yeah.
like Govind Dev Ji.
Yeah.
They are trying to save the Brahma Padarth.
Okay.
Because anyways, Shri Jagannath gives up his body every 8, 12 or 19 years through Navakalevar process. Okay? But the Brahma Padarth is transferred from one body to another. That is...
Is it Pran Pratishtha? Okay.
Yeah, you can say it is Pran Pratishtha because the prana is in Brahma Padarth. So, and Kalapahar extracts the information somehow, lays siege on that area, place, takes out the deities and brings it to the Ganges, Bhagirathi, and decides to burn them. All this way, he was being followed by a Vaishnav called Bisir Mohanty. Kalapahar, as he set the idols to fire, he suffered a cardiac arrest.
That shows the power of the... Yeah.
Imagine. His son immediately pulled him away, and it is believed that he passed away within the next day. Within 24 hours, he passed away. And his son threw the burning deities into the Ganges. Nadi mein fek diya. Bisir Mohanty followed the deities downstream as they were flowing through the Ganga. And wherever they came nearer to the shore, he retrieved those deities. Some say he retrieved it himself, some say the fisherman caught hold of it and he liaised with the fisherman. So that part is there. But what is important here, he retrieved the deities and he took out the Brahma Padarths from there. And he put it in a mridang or a khol.
But how do you remove the Brahma Padarth? That's energy, no?
There's a process. There's a process to remove it. So he retrieved them and put it in a khol, mridang. Okay? And he carried it. And why did he put it in? Because that was the safest. Nobody will catch hold. ये वैष्णव है, बजा रहा है, अपना बाजा बजा रहा है, कोई मुगल उसको नहीं छेड़ेगा. वो लेके घूमते घूमते there is a place called Kujang. I don't remember which district it is. Kujang में पहुंचा, and the king at that point of time, I think Raja Ramchandra Dev of the Bhoi dynasty, he came to know about it, and within 6 months he came up with a temple. Within 6 months. In a similar way, the first attack which happened on Jagannath Temple somewhere around 8th century, and as per Sanjin copper plates, it was the Rashtrakuta King Govinda III who laid siege, primarily because of the treasury. The deities were taken away to a place called Sonpur. It was again on a hilltop, surrounded by dense forest, and inside a cave. They were buried. He stayed there for 144 years. For 144 years, after which Adi Sankaracharya came and took him out. The bodies were worn out, but the Brahma Padarth survived, and he consecrated the Brahma Padarth into new bodies. Now, if you look at the Puranas, the picture that you get of Shri Jagannath and his siblings is a different. You will see the fire is there, हवन हो रहा है, ब्रह्मा उसमें यज्ञ कर रहे, पहले श्री जगन्नाथ बैठे हुए, उनके पीछे सुभद्रा, उनके ऊपर बलराम, बड़ा ठाकुर बोलते हैं जिसको, बड़ा ठाकुर. But this Rupa that you see today, that left hand side Bharat Thakur, beach mein Subhadra, and then Jagannath, this formation or this arrangement was given by Adi Shankaracharya. Bhuje Sakhya Benu Sirisi Sikipuchang Kati Tate Dukulang Netrante Sahachara Katakshati Vidavate Jagannatho Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatume. Shri Adi Shankaracharya, in his later years, to foster bhakti in the hearts of men and women, composed a number of hymns and verses. Jagannath Ashtakam is one of them. And the Mahisasur Mardini, which we sing as Aigiri Nandini,
Yeah.
Mahisasur Mardini is also one of them. Govinda Ashtakam,
Yeah. That's famous. Correct.
Govinda Ashtakam
Yeah.
was also by him. Jagannath Ashtakam was made famous by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if you really have to understand the Shri Jagannath culture, study Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because there has been no greater a devotee of Shri Jagannath than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was the joint incarnation of Radha and Krishna in a single body. Till the time he was in Navadip, it was his Krishna Roop, Krishna Tej. But once he came and stood and touched Shri Jagannath, the Krishna Bhav went out and the Radha Bhav went down. So the Radha Tattva which comes in today, Radha is not found in Mahabharata. The gopis are found in Mahabharata. Radha's name will never found in Mahabharata.
Even in Bhagavad Purana, it's not mentioned. Radha's name is not mentioned.
It is not there in Harivansha also. Who gave a beautiful rendition of Radha Tattva? It was Jayadev Goswami through Gita Govinda. And the beautiful explanation of, Gita Govinda even today is why do we take this text as literary evidences of our history? One of the most important verses of Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda is mentioning about Kalindi, which is one of the names of Yamuna, is mentioning of various places of Braj, which are even existent today. A place called Dhir Samip. So one of the verses which says, Dhire Samipe Jamunaro Tire Basati Bane Banamali. Banamali is the name of Sri Krishna. Basati Bane means Banamali is waiting in the one. Waiting for whom? Waiting for Radha. So he is telling to one of the gopis that go and tell Sri Radha that Banamali is waiting for you in Dhir Samip, which is a place even today on the banks of Yamuna, near to Kesi Ghat. That is how the tapestry happens. And this is how the Radha Bhav comes into play, and this is validated, corroborated, sanctioned, approved by Sri Krishna himself. And how the event it happened is, Jayadev Goswami, when he was composing the Gita Govinda, Jayadev Goswami tells his wife Padmavati, who is equally a great woman, one of the greatest women of Indian Sanatan Dharma, not spoken much of, that I'm going for my bath, you prepare the food and I'll come back and have the food. Now why he takes a break from writing? Because he is not able to decide whether he should write that verse or not. What verse? The meaning of the essence of the verse is Sri Krishna comes down to the charan of Sri Radha and does his seva to his charan. Krishna, how can he get down to the charan of Radha and hold her feet and do seva?
Yeah.
ये तो खतरनाक चीज है.
Correct.
So he was very afraid and very perplexed कि should I write this or not. He goes away. Suddenly Padmavati sees that he has come back within 5-10 minutes. क्या वो तुम अभी गए थे? नहीं, मैं इसको कंप्लीट करके फिर जाता हूँ, मेरे दिमाग में आ गया all that. So he sits down and writes it, and then he leaves. Then after half an hour, the real Jayadev comes back. He says कि बोले क्या हुआ, तुम आ गए, अभी आके गए, फिर आ गए. नहीं, मैं तो कहाँ आया, मैं तो गया ही नहीं, मैं तो चला गया, जो तुम्हारे सामने वही गया, मैं कहाँ वापस आया. नहीं, कैसे हो सकता है, तुम गए और फिर आए और फिर लिख के गए. क्या लिख के गया, जो तुम्हारा खत्म नहीं हो रहा था. सो ही सेड, क्या बोल रहा है पद्मावती. सो ही जम्प्स इनटू द manuscript and he sees that Dehi Padavallave, that Shri Krishna himself is writing that.
Oh, beautiful.
And his tears going down. Bole, Madhav, खुद आके लिख के चले गए. एंड यू आर सो लकी पद्मावती, यू हैड अ दर्शन ऑफ माधव हिमसेल्फ. देहि पदवल्लवे.
If you enjoyed watching this content, you can watch the full in-depth video on the Body to Being podcast hosted on Shloka YouTube channel. To continue watching shorter pieces of this content, you can subscribe to Shloka Clips on YouTube. Don't forget to like this video and follow us on Spotify. Pranam.